Financial crisis in Los Angeles with record-breaking overtime for law enforcement in a city that's already struggling to pay the bills. Joining us this morning with the cost of restoring and maintaining order in America's second largest city is the Deputy Public Policy Editor for OpenTheBooks.com, Rachel O'Brien. Good morning, Rachel. Great to see you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Pentagon officials say it cost $134 million to deploy National Guard troops to L.A., where really the numbers speak for themselves. How understaffed is the LAPD?
Yeah, so they've been understaffed for years. The police are definitely working a lot of overtime right now for the riots. So Mayor Bass had said that the riots were under control and the National Guard wasn't needed, but the police chief said quite the opposite. You know, he said they were overwhelmed by the number of people rioting and the types of things they were doing, including shooting commercial-grade fireworks at police officers. So in terms of what they're dealing with there in the LAPD, the numbers speak for themselves. The size of the LAPD has been shrinking for years. So during the pandemic lockdowns in California, there were many early retirements, and the police force is now at its smallest in 2 decades. And so just in 2020, there were 14,900 employees, and there are 2,300 fewer people now, including sworn officers. But the pay actually has gone up during that time.
And this also means less people, more overtime. How much overtime is the city paying?
Yeah, so it's a crazy amount of overtime because they're so understaffed. In the city in general, in 2024, they spent $1.1 billion in overtime. That's enough money to pay off the city's entire budget deficit. So of that $1.1 billion, LAPD spent $265 million. Their police officers are working a lot of hours. They have 360 police who made 100,000 or more in overtime last year. You know, but the problem isn't limited to LAPD, right? 1.1 billion for the whole city. There were over 2,000 city workers last year who earned at least $100,000 in overtime. Firefighters, Department of Water and Power employees, we talked about this when they had the fires earlier this year. But also they have people at the top making a ton of money. You know, the police chief makes $450,000. That's 100 more than his predecessor. The mayor makes $328,000. So overall, there are 4,100 LA employees who out-earn Governor Newsom's salary of $243,000.
And when you look at specifically overtime, it worked against the LAPD because it forced some officers and detectives to take off more time because they had to be furloughed. Explain that.
Yeah, so right now, I mentioned there's a $1.1 billion budget deficit. So back in 2010, so actually right now, last year, the highest overtime earner on the LAPD was Detective Nathan Corey. He took home over $400,000 in overtime. So back in 2010, the LAPD, again, he was working a lot of overtime. So Corey and several others were told to stop working because there was no money left to pay their overtime salary. So, you know, the LA Times back then reported that the homicide squad had their investigations hampered. And so the force no longer does it. And now it doesn't, you know, furlough police. It continues to allow them to work unlimited overtime, which is a different kind of problem. So either way, to avoid both problems, the LAPD should hire more officers. Fortunately, the mayor's new budget does allow for hiring 240 more officers. Let's see if that happens. That would cut down on this crazy overtime spending, and it would help residents.
That's wild, too. $400,000 just in overtime pay for one person. All right.
Over $600,000 in total for that one police officer,
wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of hours he's worked. Deputy Public Policy Editor for OpenTheBooks.com, Rachel O'Brien, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks, as always, for having me.